Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the SLSLM member exclusive Hangout sessions. Today is the 8th session, and I'm so pleased to introduce to you Dr. Chinti Suranimal. She is a member of the Sri Lankan Society of Lifestyle Medicine. She is also a lifestyle medicine certified physician with the International Board of Lifestyle Medicine and has also been an assistant cardiothoracic surgeon for over 13 years. And that is the professional side, but something very special is that she is somebody who has adopted a whole food plant-based dietary pattern way before she's even heard about lifestyle medicine. And she has a wealth of experience and expertise to share with us. And today she'll be talking to us all about blue zones. So welcome, Chinti, and over to you.
Thanks, Asari, for that introduction. So today we're going to talk about how we can create your personal blue zone at home. So firstly, why is it called a blue zone and how did it come about? So these are the areas of the world where people live the longest and healthiest lives. Gianni Pes and Michael Poulain identified Sardinia, Italy, as the region with the highest concentration of male centenarians. So Pes drew a map of Sardinia, and every time he found an area with 100-year-olds, he put a blue dot of blue ink. And one section was so full of blue ink, and that is how the word blue zone came about. And this was coined by Dan Buettner, who's a National Geographic explorer and fellow and journalist. And he did a very interesting project that he started in 2004. And it's all on the Netflix documentary, which I'll talk about later, which is where I got a lot of my information from. So the blue zones, the original blue zones are Loma Linda in California, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Sardinia in Italy, and Okinawa in Japan. So I'll just tell you a little bit about each and then we'll go to it in detail. So Sardinia, Italy is the home to the world's longest lived men. Okinawa in Japan is home to the world's longest lived women. Loma Linda in California is the Seventh-day Adventist community that we have spoken a lot about in lifestyle medicine. And they apparently outlive the average American by a decade. Ikaria in Greece it's a tiny island community and they have a significantly reduced rate of common chronic illnesses. And in Costa Rica, Nicoya is an area where people are more than twice as likely as Americans to reach 90 years of age. So let's just talk a little bit about what they do in each zone. So in Sardinia and Italy, you can imagine it's a very uphill, downhill area. And the men are mainly shepherds. So there's a lot of walking every day, daily, at least 5 miles a day. Their diet is mainly plant-based with very little meat. Meat they only have on Sundays or special occasions. They eat mostly complex carbs, but if they do eat simple carbs, then it's good carbs like sourdough bread, which is prebiotic, has iron, vitamins, proteins. They tend to choose goat's milk, and they do drink a glass or 2 of red wine, Sardinian red wine a day. They live a very stress-free life with a lot of laughter. They go to church every day. And they put their family first. They celebrate and look after their elders. And it's a very interesting fact that there are no nursing homes in Sardinia. Then if you move to Okinawa in Japan, again, they have a very strong dedication to family and friends, which they call a moe, which I'll talk about later. A very strong sense of purpose, which in Japan is called ikigai, which I'm sure is a word you've heard of. Daily moving again, things like walking, gardening, very little inactivity, and they walk in the morning, so they get a lot of sunshine and vitamin D. And another very interesting fact is that they have very little furniture. So they actually sit on the floor. So there's a lot of getting up and down from the floor several times a day. Again, their diet is mostly plant-based. They eat a lot of purple sweet potatoes, vegetables, heavily soy-based diet with tofu, miso soup, and Goya, which is a type of like our caravilla. They do eat pork, but again, that is for special occasions. For them, faith is also important, and they tend to pray to their ancestors. Loma Linda in California is this Adventist community that we know of. They volunteer a lot, so that gives them a huge sense of purpose. Again, their nutrition is mainly plant-based, so a lot of whole wheat grains, fruits, legumes, cereals, vegetables, nuts. They avoid meat altogether. They drink a lot of water and they eat an early light dinner. In terms of faith, again, they also have this 24-hour Sabbath. They don't smoke or take alcohol, and they have groups of like-minded friends. Then Ikaria in Greece, again, the similar things keep coming up with all these places, walking, gardening in terms of movement. Again, their diet, it's a famous Mediterranean diet that you know of, so a lot of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, potatoes, olive oil. They also drink a lot of herbal teas, raw honey, and local wine with no chemicals, and again, goat's milk. They do take naps, they have occasional fasting, and again, the things that we keep seeing, family and friends are a priority, and they're also generally happy people. Then Nicoya in Costa Rica, again, they have a sense of purpose. They have a very active lifestyle with all their daily activities, vitamin D sunshine, social connections, and they tend to slow down and enjoy what matters. Again, in terms of nutrition, mainly plant-based, and they use what they call the three sisters of agriculture, which are beans, corn, and squash. And it's interesting to note that if you take these three together, you apparently get all your 9 amino acids that you need without the cholesterol and saturated fat that you would get if you were having an animal protein-based diet. They also apparently drink hard water, which is high in calcium, and they also tend to have light dinners. So when Dan Buettner, he went to all these 5 places and he interviewed all the centenarians and spoke to them, and he came up with this common theme, which they call the Power 9. Basically into 4 categories: move, you have to have the right outlook, you have to eat wisely, and you have to connect. And we'll just go through each of them. Oh, I've lost mine. All right. So move naturally. So these first longest lived people, they don't go to the gym, don't pump iron, they don't run marathons, but they live in an environment that constantly nudges them to move without even thinking about it. So you have to get home, so you have to go up the hill, and you have to leave the house, and you have to come down the hill. They do a lot of gardening, and they use their hands because they don't have all these mechanical conveniences even for their housework. So it's all them doing it themselves. And this sense of purpose that is ever so important. So the Okinawans call it ikigai, and I'm sure you've seen this slide before. I absolutely love this. So ikigai is, and what Nicoyans call plan de vida, it's why you wake up in the morning. So it's a combination of what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. And the center of that is your ikigai. So it's your passion, mission, profession, and vocation. And apparently studies have shown that knowing your sense of purpose is actually worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. So downshifting is another important thing. So even people in the blue zones experience stress like we all do. And we know that stress leads to chronic inflammation and all the diseases, age-related diseases. But what these people do that a lot of us don't is they have routines to shed this stress. So you can see the Okinawans, they take a few moments every day just to pray to their ancestors and remember them. The Adventists get together and they pray. The Icarians take a nap. And the Sardinians get together and they eat and they have happy hour. Another important thing when it comes to nutrition and eating is this 80% rule. So in Okinawa, it's a 2,500-year-old Confucian mantra that they say before their meals. It's called Hara Hachibu, and it reminds them to stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. And this 20% gap between not being hungry and feeling full can be the difference between losing weight or gaining it. So you can see on the hunger and fullness scale, it's basically when you feel very full and slightly uncomfortable, but it's just after like a comfortable fullness. But you don't go beyond that very fullness so that you feel stuffed and your clothes feel too tight and you have to like unbutton the, top button of your jeans, which I've seen a lot of people do, which I used to do a lot before. And we know about this plant slant. So they eat a lot of beans, so fava beans, black beans, soy, lentils, and that is a cornerstone of their diet. If they do eat meat, most of them seem to eat pork, but it's just about 5 times a month. And the serving size is very small, so it's about the size of a deck of cards. Then they talk about this. I know it's not something that we recommend in lifestyle medicine, but wine at 5. So except for the Adventists, all the people in the blue zones drink alcohol moderately and regularly. And it's 1 or 2 glasses of this special, especially in Sardinia, Sardinian wine. And I think what's probably more important in this is that it's with friends and with food. And you mustn't, just because they say 1 or 2 glasses, you can't save it up all week and have, all 14 drinks on the Saturdays. It's more like a regular thing. Another important thing is the sense of belonging. So all except for the 263 centenarians interviewed, they had some kind of faith-based community. And the denomination didn't matter. Research shows that if you attend a faith-based service 4 times a month, so once a week, it can add 4 to 14 years of life. And this is something I think we do tend to do mostly in Sri Lanka. Put your loved ones first. So all these people put their families first. So they keep their aging parents and grandparents nearby or in the home. And they found that it actually lowers disease and mortality rates for the children in their home too. They also commit to a life partner, which can apparently add up to 3 years of life expectancy. And they invest in their children with time and love. And so therefore, the children also are more likely to care for you when the time comes. And this following, having your right tribe is so important. So all of these people, like we spoke about the Okinawans, they have these, I think it's Moe or Moai it's called, which is a group of friends who are committed to each other for life. So you can see that picture. They get together, they eat together, they chat, they look after each other. And as we know, research from the Framingham study showed that smoking, obesity, happiness, and even loneliness are contagious. So if you have these social networks of these people, they will favorably shape each other. So what can we do to create our own blue zone at home? So looking at all of these things, nutrition, as we know, is important. So mostly your plant-based diet with your whole grains, vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes, soy, tofu. And the Blue Zone's website has a section on meals, which is very interesting. They have a whole lot of meals that are from the Blue Zones. Meat, we should eat, I think, rarely or on special occasions like they do. If you were to drink milk, this, I think, is controversial. I'm not entirely sure, but they do tend to have goat's milk over cow's milk. Herbal tea, which I see a lot of people in Sri Lanka also do. Wine in moderation. Olive oil, and I think it's very important to eat with family. And when you do eat, you eat slowly, mindfully, and stop when you're 80% full. And in the Blue Zone's website, they have this 4 always, 4 to avoid. So the 4 always is your whole grains. Nuts, you should have a handful a day. Beans, a cup of beans per day. fruit and vegetables, 5 to 10 servings a day. And the 4 you should avoid are your sugar-sweetened beverages, which are just empty calories, salty snacks, which again, too much salt and preservatives, your packaged sweets like cookies, candies, and all those things you should completely avoid, and also your processed meats, which we know are linked to cancer and heart disease. In terms of moving, we should all try and do some daily activity, up and down hills, outdoors, preferably in the sunshine. Avoid sedentary behavior, so move every 20 minutes if you're sitting. And there's an African proverb that actually says, if you want to go fast, walk alone. If you want to go far, walk together. And social connections are so important. We have to put our family first. We should try and have friends with similar interests who make you a better person, so a right tribe who will make you feel like you belong. We should meet people regularly and spend quality time with people. And then finally, we should have a sense of purpose and try and find our ikigai. So the website, this is www.bluezones.com, has an actual a section where you can do your own Blue Zones life plan, which I started doing. So this, you can learn to eat the Blue Zones way without dieting, dramatically decrease stress, they say, feel and look better, increase your energy, get better sleep, enjoy better relationships, find and stay at your ideal weight. So it's a 4-week program. And you can see here, so on top it says the 7 rules. So they have this true vitality test, which tells you how long you can live, a true happiness test, a purpose checkup to see what your sense of purpose is, the 4 always, 4 to avoid I've told you about, and it mentions join or create a walking group or find a walking buddy, which is easily done. You can track your progress, and they want you to do 1 new Blue Zone activity per day. So the first week, they have top 4 must-do tasks. So do not eat in front of a screen. Eat 5 Blue Zones meal this week. Start the practice of Hara Hachibu, which is stop when you're 80% full. Walk with your group or buddy at least once. So you write your wins during the week, what you learned, your gratitude list, notes, and that's your first week. So the second week, they say put your running shoes or bike where you can see them, spend 15 minutes outside, eat at least 5 meals a day, and walk. And again, you fill in all of that. Then week 3, again, no more than 1 hour of additional screen time daily, which I know we tend to emphasize on our children, but I think even for us, we probably have a lot more screen time than we should have. Then eat at least 5 Blue Zones meals recipes, join a new social group, so church, club, local group, and walk with your group or buddy at least once. And in the last week, they talk about finish or review your purpose statement. Again, eat at least 5 Blue Zones meals recipes for the week, and create a pride shrine. So that is to have a little area in your house where you have pictures of your family, your achievements, something that, every time you pass, you feel happy. And again, walking with a group or buddy at least once. So I just did the true vitality test, and I don't know whether I was happy or not. Apparently, my longevity is 87.7 years. And then they had a list of things I can do, which apparently I can then increase it to 100.2 years. I did the true happiness test, and my happiness is a B+. So the little things they say. So I tend to get angry quite often. So they have little things you can do to decrease your anger. Then the purpose checklist was not bad. I scored 72 out of 84, and it said that I'm living purposefully and I'm clear about what matters to me, and that I matter in the world. So I think it's really interesting. So you should look at the website and check your results, and you can learn a little bit about yourself, and it'll help you create your Blue Zone at home. So these are the references. So mostly it was from the bluezones.com website. The Netflix documentary is a must-watch, Live to 100, The Secrets of the Blue Zone. And then I just read a couple more articles on the Blue Zones. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chinti, for that wonderful, peaceful presentation. That was a lot of information for us to learn all about what really are the blue zones and what when you break it down, what are the actual components, and some interesting tools too that we can use to actually make a calculation on where we are and what we can do to improve ourselves. Any questions to Chinti or thoughts or comments? While you can sort of raise your hand, or you can unmute and speak, or you can put your questions in the chat. You can send them either to everybody, or you can send them privately to me on Chinti as well. However way you like. So as you know, this is the last Hangout episode of the first season. We're going to take a short break after this and kind of see how we can improve things going forward. So that's why we purposefully kept, like a small presentation so that we'll have more time to have a little discussion and discuss with our members. Aruni?
Yes, it's an amazing presentation. I was so delighted to listen to that, Chinti. Congratulations. And you almost covered everything. And what we can also insist that our country, which is still have a lot of blue zone facilities, which we ignore most of the time. So I believe that this would be an eye opener if you can give the message more to the general public and general population. As doctors, we are lucky that we can pass this message to many. So this is amazing because usually they say that eat whatever less than grown less than 10 miles from your living. So that means whatever the gotu-kola and whatever the pala-kola that we see all around and we see every day in our market is better than what you find from far away from Nuwara or somewhere, some little thoughts. So this is you explained that very well. So you said that people has to walk around and pick their stuff, climb mountains, come back. So we sometimes overlook these facilities and we interpret as not having facilities. So this walking facility for something is taken as a lack of facilities, lack of transport modality. So I would think that there are many doctors in the forum, so we all can pass this message as much as possible. Thank you. You just compiled it in a very nice manner.
Thank you. And that's another thing I must add, actually. So during the petrol crisis, I walked every day from home, which is in Kolpiti, so back from RCD Surgical to my house in Kolpiti. And for those couple of months after that, I did all my blood tests. And to this day, that is my best lot of like my lipid profile, my fasting blood sugar, everything just with that like 45 minutes to an hour. I think it was about 5 to 7 kilometers walk compared to going to the gym for an hour, compared to like all the workouts I have done. That just plain walking, I think, was actually much better for my body. I haven't managed to get it the reports haven't been that good since that time.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's so. Are you continuing that even after the petrol crisis?
No, because now it's too hot. So I go to the gym.
I know.
But that's what it was my best time.
No. Yes, not to everyone. So I mean, some people are worried and they interpret as not having facilities and not having transport facilities. So maybe we can change our perspective over these things, and we may be more vigilant to pick whatever the blue zone luxuries we look around, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Aruni, for that.
Raida's put.
And thank you, Chinti, for your. That's what. So, Raida?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Shinti. That was a fantastic presentation. And I
Thank
like
you.
the fact that you had also outlined, and that even though they were on plant-based diets, they had a whole load of good quality carbohydrates as well, because
Mhm.
nowadays, I mean, carbohydrates have become such an enemy to most people. And they when they think of eating healthy, they think of, oh, we need to cut carbs. But if you look at the blue zones, they are plant centric and carbo. I mean, they have at least 50 to 60. I would say 50 to 60% of their diet is of good quality complex carbs. So that's a great point that you highlighted as well. It's just that they eat to suit their lifestyle. And they have that high level of non-exercise activity as well. So yeah, it was fantastic. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raida. Raida is always promoting good quality carbs. So,
I love my carbs. I can't help it.
yeah. Any other questions, thoughts?
I have one more question, Chinti. So, can you please explain? Have you read somewhere that the research that you just explained about 263 centenarian? So, have they taken 263 from each blue zone? Was that the way they have conducted it? If I'm correct, yeah.
I'm
What I
not
got.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure because he didn't specify that in the. It's not in the what do you call the video that I watched, the Netflix documentary.
Okay.
To know how many in total, but I think it's the total of all 5 blue zones because he went to all 5. So I think it's the total of, so that's about like 50, probably more than 50, because I think what they mean by the centenarian is just over 100, right? And there were a lot who are kind of, they talk about 70s, 80s, and 90-year-olds. So I think, so there are definitely more than like probably 263 over hundreds, but
Okay.
he can speak to and interview people from 80 plus onwards. So I think it's just talking about the 263 out of all the 5 blue zones, but just the over 100 is that number.
Yeah, I got what you said. That
I think it's all 5.
if we compare each and every slide you discussed to our population and our living patterns, so it matches beautifully. We are more religious, everyone has a very faith-based lives, so and we take care of our parents. So most of the countries, they don't have this qualities, so I think we are almost there. So
Yeah.
it's one of our responsibilities to bring these concepts more and more practical, because these are very undermined concepts and people don't think them as real beneficial components in life. They say sometimes they don't see the value through that. So I think we have some work to do with the attitude change.
That's true. Because one slide actually I forgot to put. So at the end of the documentary, it talks about he goes back to one of the blue zones like 5 years later and then sees some disappointing things. So, the influence, the city influence has come about, and then he sees McDonald's and Pizza Hut and, so so he talks to a family where the young boy is eating pretzels out of a can. And then the mom says it's very difficult to get him to eat his beans and, home cooked food because he asks for the fast food. So eventually the question is, will these blue zones die out if people start, forgetting about it and they follow this fast paced lifestyle? They don't take time. They don't look after their parents. That kind of thing.
Yeah, correct.
Sorry, Chinti.
Yeah.
I know when on that point, I mean, from I would say 5 years ago to now, if you go around Sri Lanka, because we were talking about Sri Lanka, there's now pretty much a Pizza Hut attached to nearly every Cargill's around the country, or they seem to be getting more and more common. So I think with globalization, social media, information traveling so fast, unfortunately, it is an unfortunate consequence where even in Sri Lanka, this is what unfortunately, this is probably what the future would hold, right?
Hmm.
And
And
also,
sometimes it's cheaper also for someone to grab
is.
something, no?
And it's
Yeah.
also, I think, eating organic and healthy and your ratuhin neti and your kaluhin neti, actually more expensive than eating your, well, actually, now I don't know with costs going up, but generally it's quite expensive to eat the natural or not natural, the sort of indigenous food
Hmm.
because you only get it in the fancier shops for easy access unless you live in a local area.
Yeah, thanks, Nilani, for that input. Aruni, are you there?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
Rasai.
I'm just wondering, like regarding when it comes to regarding the various types of rice that we have,
Mm-hmm.
and we what we do want is something more close to a whole food and something with more fiber. So in that,
Mm-hmm.
with your experience in Sri Lanka, is there a certain type of rice which is more superior? I know we don't have much evidence, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's actually it's a really a great question because if you just think how many rice varieties we have, I believe it's close to 1,000. It's nearly many hundred. So I mean, if you really have this variety, let us have different nutrients in different compositions and different value system. So I think what is important is not to find out what has the highest fiber level and what has the highest thiamine level, because whatever the highest and best in something will not be the best in the other nutrient. So what I would suggest is to have the variety, as since these most of the traditional rice varieties, they do have lot of proteins as well as fiber there. So then as Chinti correctly explained, these rice varieties are very good satiating inducers. So this it will really nicely achieve this harahachibu with lesser number of calories and lesser other kind of, it is very brain level satiation is achieved faster. So I think uh, traditional rice varieties are always better because they have higher proteins when you compared with other more modern rice varieties and gene edited rice varieties. So best is not to get addicted or not to get constricted to some one variety, but to have everything in a mix. So that would be my message of that.
Okay.
Aruni, do you remember? Sorry, just completely randomly. Aruni, your
Yeah.
son is at Royal, right? Do you remember when that principal introduced the 5 rice candor?
Uh-huh.
Were you all in
Yeah.
school? They did Pacha Perumal, Ratuhin Neti, Kurlutudu, some other neti. There were
Yeah.
5, I can't remember. And it was
Yeah.
actually quite tasty, right? 5 rice varieties plus
Mm-hmm.
the 2 organic, I think 2 organic vegetables that they grew on their roofs or something. And it
Yeah.
was
Okay.
given to every student. One, it was tasty, and two, because of sort of peer pressure when one drinks, the other drinks. They were all drinking it and they all loved it. Unfortunately, that program is no longer there after that principle. But it just goes to show that if you catch the kids early and use peer pressure positively, these guys will get used to the healthier habits.
Yeah, that's exactly correct what you said, because uh, different having 5 types in one meal is the
Yeah.
best that we can introduce, adding the variety. So, and also Raida would also agree with me, this rice, when it comes to rice is a wonderful meal base, because we can very balancedly add other nutrients to a rice dish, because rather than just think about some pasta dish or some kind of noodle dish. So it is very difficult to add other dishes and mingle with the good taste. But if you eat rice, you can have different vegetables and different types of whatever the uh, protein sources you like in between, uh, plant proteins and animal proteins both. So it is a very good base that you can always have lot of changes done within that meal. So even what we should start practice is, we should go and buy 5 types of rice varieties rather than just buying 25 kilos of one bag of one type of rice. If you can just buy 5 kilos of 5 types each, so then that 25 kilos will be divided into a different variety, so which will be bringing you different nutrient profiles home. So that kind of different practical solutions we can always add. Then that will be uh, making our concepts into practice. Otherwise, we'll be talking in forums, and if we go shopping, we buy the same 25 kilos and we keep on eating that. It's not going to help.
Yeah, that just touching on Dr. Aruni's point as well. So there was a study done, I think it was in 2017. I can find it somewhere on my laptop, where they actually compared, I think, over 20 odd traditional rice varieties. And in that, they found that, so pretty much all the different rice varieties showed the varying level of nutrients. But at the end of the day, you're looking at, where everything is how you would classify it as healthy for a person, as long as you have variety. And then they all have potential health benefits. Of course, the traditional red rices were taken to be considered with a little bit more of an higher antioxidant effect and had more anti-diabetic and anti-inflammatory properties. But other than that, in terms of the traditional rices, so these were, if I'm not mistaken, all unpolished rices, both red and white.
So, I mean, I will share one of my experiences I had during last 2 weeks. I was wearing a continuous glucose monitor for fun. I mean, I just happened to wear one. So I was just seeing what's happening with my food and how the glycemic peaks come. But mine is not going to last because I have no diabetes. It comes in kind of few minutes down, but I could see the peak happens. So in that experience, I saw that different rice varieties behave differently. Kind of red rice, white rice, and kind of even they don't behave the same. So that's what these diabetic educators are picking up, and they say, all right, the red rice is good, red rice is better. So what if we just in a way that maybe you prescribe red rice because it's good for diabetes, but at the same time, if he has nephropathy at the same time, stage 3 or something, then we have to take care of their phosphate levels, which is, and potassium levels, which is high in red rice. So then, okay, then someone would say, okay, then white rice is good. So people are really lost in lot of concepts and information overload. So what if we think that we would cook rice differ separately, or obviously you can't cook the different rice varieties in the same pot because their cooking frequencies are different. So maybe you can add white rice and red rice while eating. You can cook separately, but you can have both to add the variety in the same plate. So this is something I have never thought of, and which has never been practiced in Sri Lanka. You know, you will have one type of rice and you can have lot of vegetables. But if the person likes to have white rice, if he is glycemic control, if his or her glycemic control is bad, then yes, red rice. So you can add a variety all the time. So you can even add the variety in the same plate. So that's what I was telling. So these glycemic peaks are there because I experienced that with my last 2 weeks experience. These different rice varieties behave and give up different glycemic peaks. That's true. That depends on the type of and amount of fiber you have in those rice. So in a diabetic person, it may be different. That peak would last for a while. So that itself is not a solution for them to eat, for solution or reason for them to be restricted only to the red rice. So we can be creative and we can add different rice varieties. As Chinti said, she came across 20, so those 20 plus white rice. So a little bit of white rice in between those rice. So that would be fine. That's what I think.
Aruni, sorry, do you have any thoughts on now this CIC puts out these low GI rices? I think they have 3. They have a white parboiled with, I think, a GI of 41, a red fragrant GI 48, and I think there's now another 43. I mean, do you have any thoughts about these low GI rices that they put out? Because I think
Yeah.
that GI index is even lower than your normal Kakulu and all. Is it genetically modified? Is it bad for you? I mean, obviously, it must be better for the diabetics. Does it work? Because you were talking about your glucose monitor. I was wondering whether you had any thoughts.
Yes, that's exactly what I was telling, because different rice varieties has far different glycemic expressions. So the glycemic expressions can be always altered by adding other things. If you only eat rice and if you eat rice large portions, so that is only rice that is acting on your gut. But if you add lot of other things together with rice, so that obviously the more practical thing is glycemic load. You can add many other low glycemic food to be combined with high glycemic food to give the summation as somewhere middle. So then you really don't have to be very picky about low GI food as far as you eat it with lot of fiber food like vegetables and green leaves. So that itself will do the service since it is a mixed meal. And also you can add different rice varieties and the same pot, same meal.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Aruni, for those insights. Raida, I know you have thoughts on glycemic index.
No. So Dr. Aaron is absolutely right. So basically, when it comes to parboiling, there is actually, if I remember correctly, where there is almost a migration of nutrients. You don't lose that many nutrients as you would do in other processing as well. That is another reason why, parboiling rice actually ends up with a lower glycemic index when you compare it to other different rice types. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, so basically, another thing is, if I remember correctly, there's less loss of nutrient, and the basic translocation from the husk to the inside, there is a nutrient translocation. And at the end of the day, I think, I mean, whether it's low GI rice, yes, there are certain, people who may need it more than others. But if you're looking at a regular healthy lifestyle, having a variety is always very important. I mean, just like for an example, in my house, we have a mix, one day it's red, one day it's white, and another day it's yellow rice. So, it's important.
Raida, what happened is parboiling is when it's like we call it hal thambanawa kiyala, what we were calling. So the V at A, while it's been V, it is being boiled. So what happened with this when you boil it, the outer covering of the grain really get very tightly attached to the bottom part. So that means the endosperm. So if outer covering is tightly attached to the endosperm, so what will happen during the milling, during usual milling, the part of the outer covering will go off. So, but in parboiled rice, the outer covering is highly tightly attached, plus some nutrients are being absorbed into the endosperm. That's what you were explaining, right?
Yes.
So that
The
was the exact
translocation.
mechanism. Translocation. Yes.
Yeah.
It is a very mechanical. It is a very mechanical process that is being practiced by our Asian people. So something, that's why this goodness comes through the parboiling.
Sorry, so rice to rice, if it's the same type of rice, parboiled is better than non-parboiled, glycemic index wise. Right.
Yes.
Okay. I never really knew the difference. Thanks. Because I see it in the shop and it says, because the white rice, I always thought would automatically have a higher glycemic index, but this white rice is lower than the red. That's probably because it's parboiled.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually,
Right.
these are actually, we call, sometimes we don't like processed food. These are very good processing of food. This is a method of processing. We call these good processing methods where we have used in past.
And Dr. Arun, if I remember correctly, parboiling also makes it more resistant to insects and also less breakage.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's because that outer covering become very hardly attached to the endosperm.
All right. Thank you, ladies, for that discussion, because this is what we really want to see in this forum. Like, we can talk about all the wonderful researchers, papers and all these findings in the world, but we need to bring the conversation here to where we are living in Sri Lanka. And we need to talk about how we can practically use the resources that we already have to put lifestyle medicine into practice where we are living. Any other thoughts? We can have one more question regarding whatever you learned about today. It can be regarding that, or it will be a little bit of more time till we all meet again for a conversation like this. So if you have any questions on previous sessions too, we have about 7 board members here today, so we can try answering that for you as well.
I have a very humble request to everyone, because Chinti has done a wonderful job taking us through all these good habits in Blue Zones. And if we all determine to practice at least few of them, if we don't already, so please, shall we start it today itself? Then we can give this knowledge to the people better. So I love the ikigai diagram that she
I
showed.
love that.
Everyone should live a life like that, where we have our lifespan with health span, where we wake up every day to give something to the other, to spread the eudaimonic happiness, and we are happy and everyone is happy. So I have a very humble request to everyone. So because we should not waste away the knowledge that Chinti transferred beautifully.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharani, for your thoughts as always. And yeah, so thank you all for attending. And it's been a very it's been a privilege to talk to all of you guys and to learn from all of you guys. We have some of our speakers here too, so I get a chance to thank them individually. So thank you, Chinti, for your presentation. We have Raida, thank you for your contribution. We have Aruni, thank you. Ravindra, thank you. Gihani, thank you. And Mufi, thank you as well. And thank you for everybody who has taken the time. Despite, I know you guys have a lot going on, but despite all of that, thank you for making the time to, set 1 hour aside every couple of weeks and come listen to our little talks and have this wonderful conversation. All right. Okay. So any last thoughts? No? I can sign off. Okay.
And thank you to you,
Thanks a lot,
Rasari,
Rasari.
for organizing all this.
No worries. It's a pleasure.
It's been good.
Thank you. So thank you guys so much for this session. So we come to the end of season 1. So please click on the feedback link I've just shared. And yeah, so very special thank you to Kasun for always being there for all these meetings and trying to help me out a lot with the technical work as well. So if you can just click on the link, it will take about 3 minutes. So feedback is like a kindness that you're doing us. Feedback is a gift, and that will help us a lot to improve future sessions. So this is us signing off. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, and we'll see you in the next season. Bye-bye.